Okay, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. We are at May 21st, 2021, looking at the S&P 500 futures market, and we're going to get started with our pre-market analysis here. Going to go ahead and jump up to our super high time frames, and everything still looks the same. So super bullish on our quarterly and on our monthly. No signs of exhaustion as we push higher here. And you can see that this really steep trend line that we've been watching here, this slope has not been broken. So we're still in this really strong bullish trend. Again, no signs of exhaustion here on this monthly. Weekly, we talked about this yesterday. And what we said was we do have the potential here for a bullish divergence to be forming off the lows. It's not necessarily the prettiest type of setup that I like, but there's definitely an argument to be made here that if we do not break below the low that we made earlier, last week when we made the low there at 29.25, if we don't break that, we technically will have a bullish indication here on our weekly. And we are pushing all the way back up. So pretty nice. We'll have to kind of watch this as we go. We have one more day for this candle to close. The picture could completely change, by the end of today. On our daily, what I'm sort of noticing is that if we do not break above 41.7950, then we're going to get a bearish indication here off the current highs. So from a daily perspective, if we cannot get above 79.50 today, we will close and potentially have a bearish indication here on the daily. Now we do have the rest of today for this to form and develop, and the picture could change a little bit at the end of the day. So we will have to revisit this, but as of right now, there definitely is a little bit of bearishness here until we break 79.50. On our 4-hour, we have sort of a similar situation. If you look at the high we made at 79.50 here, we've now pushed down, and now we've only made it to 73.25. So we've pushed down just about 6 points. But on RVI, from that previous high, we actually have pushed up just a little bit. And even if we remain flat, it's still the same kind of picture. A little bit of bearishness if we cannot get above 79.50. So that's going to be probably one of our conditions going into the morning here. We just have to dial down to our shorter time frames to see what they're saying. Okay, so our 60-minute as well is giving us a bearish indication here. Just from the local highs, you can see as we've pushed here, we got a bearish indication in the overnight over here. And then it continued to push higher, but RVI has continued to push lower here. So still have a bearish indication at the moment, at least from the current high. And again, this picture could change, and then if we break above 79.50, the picture on the higher time frames will change as well. So we're going to have to kind of watch them this morning. We are in a big chop box here, essentially from 51 to 68, so like a 15 to 20 point range where we've been super choppy, not only in the Globex and the overnight session and the end of yesterday, but if you look back a few days ago, we were bouncing around essentially in the same area. And then back here, same situation back on May 11th, and then back here on May 6th, a lot of chop in this one little zone here. Essentially, I have that 55.25, and then the top end where that CP is, right around 69.25. That whole little area, you can look back and see lots of chop going on in that specific zone. So, kind of have to break out of this morning. And so let's go to our intermediate time frames and see what they're saying here. Pull up our 30-minute. And from a 30-minute perspective, it's agreeing with what we saw on the 60-minute, at least from that previous high back here. We have this push down in RVI, And I don't like the fact that we're actually have to cut through that. If we ignore this previous divergence that formed back here, so we've got, we had this bearish indication just at the end of yesterday's session, and then we've been kind of playing around here. So arguably in this local area, we don't really have any divergence. I would argue that this setup right here has already played out, and so I'm not necessarily interested in kind of extrapolating the high in RVI back here all the way over, since we already got our divergence from the next push higher. So in this area, I would lean towards saying we don't really have any type of strong bearish indication. But again, you can extrapolate like that, and you definitely have an argument. So we got to keep it in mind. Overall, I think this morning what we want to also look at is that 79.50 up there. So not only am I seeing a little bit of bearishness as we try to push here, I do see the potential for a bullish indication. And remember, when we are in at what looks like a bullish push, especially making these higher lows as we go, I like to stick with the bullish continuation patterns until the story changes. And currently, off of the low that we made here at 67.25 on our 30-minute chart, we're starting to see a bullish indication. So I can go ahead and mark that. If I jump back to my 60-minute and just take a look, don't necessarily see the same indication on the 60-minute. There also is not quite as much resolution off the lows over there. So currently we'll keep this in mind. Maybe if our 10-minute and our 3-minute also have that indication, we could expect some type of pop up here. How far it will actually get, we don't know. But breaking again 79.50 will be a really nice indication for a continuation in this bull push. Let's jump down to our 10-minute. And we're looking at pretty much the same indication here. So from this 67.25, we have a really clear bullish divergence. So we could see some type of push up. And outside of that, we do, let's see. So again, if you go back and you extrapolate all the way back to, say, this high we made in yesterday's session, the previous daily high, or you go back to the high we made before that, you could extrapolate back to where we are right now and say that we have a little bit of bearishness up top, but I don't necessarily like that. I'd prefer to see something in the local region. And if you look and exaggerate this just a little bit, you can see we did push higher here, although it's pretty close. And so we did push higher here as well. So there's no divergence in that local area. And I do like what I'm seeing here on my 10-minute right now as far as that bullish indication, especially because it's agreeing with what I see on the 30-minute. So we could potentially see a little bit of a push to test at least that high right around 73.25. And then again, if we can get a little bit more momentum, breaking 79.50 is really going to be a good thing for the bulls. But remember, it's not just a break of 79.50, it's a break above it and hold above it for the continuation higher. If they just kind of sneak up and push up above it and then come back down and then stay below 79.50, that could just be just a peak above. So we need to see it push above 79.50 and hold above it. So I am trying a long from down here. I have another one of my accounts up here, just a stage 5 account with small contracts, just to see if we can get this push up to 79 from here. And so let me see what the 3-minute is saying over here. Just want to see if the 3-minute also has that bullish indication, and sure enough, it does also have a bullish indication off of the low. So not only do you have this indication, and let me go ahead and fix that. We have this indication here, but if you look from the previous swing low, the major swing low, we also have the same bullish indication. So I like what I'm seeing here. I entered really late. I got in at 69.50. We'll see how far we can actually push here. Again, getting up to that 73.25 and breaking would be nice. And then 79.50 is that level we're looking to break. So essentially, getting above the KP is going to be important here for the bulls this morning. So let me see if I can kind of review it all and wrap it all up into a nice chunk, a nice nugget here. Give me 1 second to look at my higher time frames again. Super high time frames, no indications of bearishness in this push, no exhaustion. On the weekly, we do have the potential for a bullish divergence if we hold above the low that we made last week around 29. And so if we can hold above that, we do get a little bit of a bullish indication. And if you look at that weekly candle, huge wick to the downside, and closing up above here would be a very bullish sign. So things look pretty bullish here on the weekly, assuming we don't have some crazy sell-off. On the daily, again, we do have the potential for a bearish indication if we can't get above 79.50. But we do have all day for that to develop, so I don't want to rely on that for our for the open here. For our 4 hour, we also kind of had the similar indication, so 79.50 is going to be important here for the bulls. And then on our 60-minute and our 30-minute, we definitely had some indications of some bearishness off of this high that we made. So ideally, we want to break 73.25 and 79.50 for a bullish case this morning. If we cannot get above either of the two levels, then we could potentially see a bigger pullback. And remember, on these pullbacks, we do have really good levels below us to look for potential bounces. We do have 50% of the previous day. We have a really nice confluence down here around 41.14. And so there's a few levels below us we want to watch if we do get some type of sell-off from that 73.25 bearish indication on our hourly and our 30-minute. Outside of that, right now we do see a nice bullish indication on our short time frames and the beginnings of our intermediate time frames off of that 67.25. So we'll see how much follow through we can actually get. And so that's kind of where we are right now. We have just about 10 minutes before the open.